Hello and welcome. My name is Dr. Carl Gold, and I'm here today to help you understand the features and functions of the app for the new EdgeLife wireless ultrasound probes. And in order to do that, I'll be sharing my screen today so that you can follow along with me on how to use the buttons on your app. Here is the screen of our app, and we will be looking at the features today on how to control the wireless ultrasound probe. First thing we're going to do today is explore the button in the upper right corner. If you select that button, you should see a 5-item menu. The first one to explore is settings and parameters. This will control the basic functions of the app, which would include the type of software the app is running, medical versus veterinary, date format, measurements, etc. The key feature on the settings page is the startup. We are able to create a sign-on feature, which would limit access to the equipment. This would be useful in larger settings where each individual in a location may or may not be authorized to access ultrasound equipment. If so, selecting the sign-on feature after allowing the page to update at the bottom of the screen, we would change this to a sign-on feature, and we would define our number of minutes for automatic logout and maximum numbers of retries before an administrator would need to intervene. Once we have this selected and we save it in our features, now when we log out of the app or turn the equipment off, each new user will be required to fill this in before they're able to use the equipment. Allow me to enter my own information to get this demonstrated to you. I will enter my password as an administrator. And now I'm ready to log in. Once I'm in the app with the sign-on page, I can easily go to settings and parameters. I can update this page and I can go back to the startup option and I can select automatic. And once I save that setting and I return to the main page, then I can use the app and the probe anytime I want. This does not limit access by the users. So in most settings, this is the preferred way to set the app up, is on automatic. Now, in addition, we have other entries on our settings menus. We can select patient studies, at which point we see a list of all of the exams we've performed on this iPad using this app. I've performed 3 separate exams. I now have 3 separate patients that I can select either individually or completely, and I can transfer these images to another device. These images under patient studies are the JPEGs and the MP4s. Once I return to each previous screen, I can change my selection to image transfers. This list of patient studies could be used to select an exam to be transferred to a PAC server. So image transfers refers to DICOMs, whereas patient studies refer to the JPEGs and the MP4s. In addition to transferring images from the app, we also allow our users to understand that the app or the probe, neither one, collect personal information. This is simply a statement about patient information storage. In addition, we're able to log out of this screen that was a user screen. And at any time we select log out, we will then be required to use the username and password. So my recommendation is, unless it's on purpose to limit access, don't ever choose log out because it will put you back into the username and password screen. So that completes our view of our settings and parameters page. Let me go quickly back, and under Sys Administrator, we did want to know how to set up the username and password. So under System Administrator, we're able to come to this screen and then start assigning usernames and passwords to create our list of authorized users. Provided that's not required, we won't come into that section of the screen. And we do have other features that we can control here under sysadmin, and I will come back to these later. Now, in the previous video, we did explore how to create a new patient record. So going to the Head and Shoulders icon in the upper left corner, we can use the controls at the bottom of the screen to create a new patient record, update a previous one, delete those that are not necessary anymore. And of course, very important, I can perform a search for all of my previous exams. So these are the patients that I've currently completed exams on. I can simply select one of them, and when I choose select, I end up going back, and now when I look at the images I've stored, there's the patient that I selected out of the search, and all of the previous exam images from that patient are now ready for me to inspect and utilize in any way that's appropriate. I'm going to return to the main screen. Just a quick review of the patient information form. Of course, I can create a new one, update and delete as I previously said, but right now we're going to keep it on the patient currently selected. The minimum requirement for each new exam is a patient ID. It can be any combination of numbers, characters, letters, but it is required to enter a patient ID here prior to performing an exam. All of the other fields can remain blank. It won't stop the user from performing an exam, or the user can, of course, fill in all the blanks for a complete documentation file. Hello and welcome back to our third in a series of videos showing how to utilize the features and functions of the application that drives the wireless ultrasound probe from EdgeLife Technologies. In the previous video, I said that I would come back to this area of the app. In the upper right corner, if we select that icon, we come back to our familiar menu of settings and parameters, patient studies, which will bring up the studies done with our JPEGs and MP4 images, image transfers, which will pull up our images saved in the DICOM format, the About section, which just is a statement saying that the app nor the probe collects or stores any information about the patient or the user, and the log out feature for getting out of the username and password screen, which right now is not active because in the previous video we set it to automatic. But let's now go and revisit our system admin feature, because this has several functions that are very important for the user. When I open up sysadmin, I get a 6-item menu. Let's explore from the top, shall we? As I choose exam types, I get a set of columns that will apply to what type of probe you're using. This could be one of our multifunctional probes with 3 separate imaging modalities in one probe. That's the probe that I have connected now. We do have dual-headed probes that have only 2 scan modes available. And of course, we have single-headed units that can do the individual curvilinear, linear, or cardiac exams. Today, I have a 3-in-1 probe, so I'm listing all 3 columns of exam types. In this area, with the finger touch, I can select individual exams that I can disable here on the back end of the app. At this point, these exams will not show up on the front page of the app under the exam type setting, which I will review in just a minute with you. So once I deselect these, all that are left to show on the preset menu on the front end of the app will be the ones highlighted in green. Now, assuming that I want to order the exams in terms of my priorities, I can, with a finger touch, highlight one of the exams, and I can simply move it with my fingertip anywhere I want to on the exam type list. Ultimately, then creating an order for myself of the exams that I prefer to create and use for myself. So here's the order that I ended up with, and it's simply finger touches, disabling the ones I don't want, keeping highlighted in green the ones I do want, and then ordering and sorting with the finger touch and hold, moving the selection up and down the list. Once you have these sorted the way you want as a user, disabling the exams you don't want, highlighting the ones you do want, and then ordering them, you simply hit the return button. And when we go back to the main page, now we have our exam list at the top, which will only show the exams that we highlighted on the back end under settings and parameters. So hopefully that's clear on how to order and sort and enable and disable your preset selections so that on the front end of the app here in the exam type window, you're able to select only the exams you want. Let's return to settings and parameters, back to sysadmin. And our second feature that you can control on the back end of the app are predefined annotations. If I select that, I'm now on a screen where I can select whatever exams show up on any of my transducers. They're all here. So right now I would pick something like a lung exam. And during this exam, I would want to be able to notate consistently from exam to exam, left lung, left upper lobe, right upper lobe. And to save myself from manually entering all of those annotations, I can easily create a list of preset annotations. So I would, for example, select left lung and right lung. And now when I get on my screen to do my exams, I will save those. Now when I'm ready to use annotations on the screen, I already have a preset list defined for that study. So very helpful to know about predefined annotations here under sysadmin. We'll take some time up front to get the app loaded with all of the notations that the user desires. But once this is created, then you can simply pick the predefined annotations off the list. They appear on the screen with your image and you're set. You don't have to do manual entries. The next line down, network connections, is a way for the user to control where the images are transferred to. Primarily, the use of this screen will be to select which network connection is important. Primarily, we're going to find that PACS uploads are the ones used most often for archiving, documentation, billing and collections, liability, etc. So once we select which network or which connection type we want to work with, we're now able to program in the correct settings for any PACS server. All PACS servers have a PACS AE title, an IP address, and a port number. Once these are known to the user from the people that run your server, whether it's hard drive or cloud, they will provide you with these three pieces of information. You'll come here, you'll select update, you'll program in the information. These top four lines are promiscuous. These are simply the name of you and your clinic. These three lines are the ones that are important. These are small numbers that the user can read and intuitively understand what they're asking for. And of course, we want to be active. And of course, we do not want to auto delete anything. So once these are programmed in, we will hit the word save and return. And now we're back to the settings page and we have programmed in which PACS server our images will go to. We can also, we visited this earlier before, user administration allows us to create our user list. Here you would maintain users and begin assigning usernames and passwords, create your authorized user list, and then have access to that as the administrator to know who is signing in and who has access to the equipment. I simply return. I select sysadmin again. There can be times when the imaging is not going the way the user expects. It's simple enough to know if it's a probe problem, a patient problem, a user problem, or a software problem. Simply select probe test off of the menu. Once we have the probe connected, which we did at the beginning of the exam, we simply start our test. The probe will scan itself and tell you that the test is complete and no errors were encountered. But this is a simple way to know quickly whether the probe is a problem during exams. I'm going to hit the return button. I go back to sysadmin, and now the last feature that we have on the back end of the app, very helpful for the user, is what we call our event log. We are able to chronologically follow events happening during each individual scan. I would like to start at the top and suggest that you decide what type of log you would like to inspect. Was it a sign-on problem with usernames and passwords? Was it a device problem? Or was there some event occurring during the exam? Dropping the probe, user interruption, et cetera, et cetera. So any user can follow along how the probe is being used, who's using it, and for what purposes. So very helpful to follow along with the use history of the device, and it's easily done here in the event log. Of course, date and ID are a way to search for the users so that you can then go and inspect what kind of log you want. If there is software support needed, you can export the logs, you can send them on to other people for review as an added feature for the log itself. Once I've completed my survey of the sign-ons, the events, or the device issues, I simply return and I'm done with my system settings. Of course, we've reviewed the settings page in a previous video, but these are routine settings for this type of probe and these types of exams. Now that you've seen the system settings page along with all of the features of the system administrator, you are now complete and ready to begin using your probe. I want to give you a little introduction to the probe first. This particular model we refer to as our 3-in-1. That is because we have a high frequency linear probe, a low frequency convex probe, and a phased array probe built into this end. So this probe will scan in 3 different ways, which would cover any animal under any condition at any time. To make this wireless, we built in a 5G Wi-Fi router in the probe. So we connect directly from the probe to any viewing device via an app.